live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Hi everybody, thanks for joining us for 2 News Live. I'm Mark Cabell filling in for Brian Schneed today. It's Wednesday, December 27th. We're going in depth tonight on the plea deal life coach and former licensed counselor Jodi Hildebrandt pleaded guilty to in a courtroom this morning. Before we dive into that, here's a look at what's making headlines today across Utah. People in an Orem neighborhood wondering what led to a home worth nearly $4 million to go up in flames. The fire happened last night just before 6 p.m. near 5th East and 1450 North. Orem fire officials say it took 30 firefighters from multiple agencies to get that blaze under control. The cause of the fire still under investigation today. A woman was killed, a man hospitalized after a head-on crash in West Haven. UHP police say a pickup was going north on Highway 126 near 1750 South when it crossed the center line. That truck then hit another truck head-on. Top U.S. security officials meeting with Mexico's president. They're trying to limit a huge surge of migrants coming to the U.S. southern border. This month, roughly 10,000 migrants were arrested daily at the southern border, all accused of crossing into the United States illegally. Preparations underway at the gateway for Utah's largest New Year's Eve celebration. They call it the last hurrah of 2023. It'll feature live music, pop-up bars, food trucks, games. The event will feature performances by co-headliners Blind Love and Cardinal Bloom. It'll run from 8 p.m. until midnight with a fireworks display at midnight as we head into 2024. All right, as we go in depth tonight, you can always get in touch with us during the show. You can use the hashtag 2NewsLive if you'd like to join in on the conversation. So guilty on 4 of 6 aggravated child abuse charges against Connections classroom founder Jodi Hildebrandt. And she will be going to prison. Hildebrandt pleaded guilty this morning. Prosecutors say she got a very similar deal to her former business partner, Ruby Franke. Our Paul Nelson was in the courtroom today. He joins us now. And Paul, what's the difference between the plea deal between the one that Franke made with prosecutors and the one today that Hildebrandt made with prosecutors?
Well, it might not seem like a very big change just at the start of the sentencing process, at the beginning of it. The change was that in order to get Ruby Franke to testify against Jodi Hildebrandt, the county attorney's office agreed that they would stay neutral in all of Ruby Franke's upcoming parole hearings, meaning they wouldn't weigh in one way or the other. And they did that so that she would testify against Hildebrandt. But in this case, they did not agree to stay neutral in Hildebrandt's upcoming parole hearings, which means they can participate. They can either attend these hearings themselves, or they could send a letter basically recommending that she stay behind bars for an additional period of time if that's what they feel that she merits. And so that is the main difference there. So even just on a parole board level, that could mean that Hildebrandt could spend more time in prison than Ruby Franke did. But apart from that, she agreed to the exact same charges that Ruby Franke pleaded guilty to, specifically 1, 3, 5, and 6 charges 2 and 4 were dropped. And prosecutors told us the reason why they dropped some charges is because if they gave no plea offer whatsoever, there'd be no incentive to plead guilty. And that way, they would have to basically drag the victims to court to testify, which nobody wanted to do.
And Paul, there's been talk that some people feel that she may, and prosecutors feel she may be more culpable in this than what we thought before. And we're going to get in depth with that with Jake here in just a minute, because he's been looking at those documents today. But so that would mean that if they do have a say in adult probation and parole, they could recommend that she spend more time in jail than Ruby Franke, right?
That is true. Now, I did ask the prosecutors who they felt was the more culpable party, whether it was Franke or Hildebrandt, and they said they did not want to comment about who they felt was more culpable at this time. They might after sentencing, and sentencing is scheduled for February 20th of 2024. But for right now, there are still some things that they're being tight-lipped about because they don't want anything to possibly interfere in any upcoming sentencing hearings. So we might find out a little bit later who they believe is the more culpable party, whether it's Franke or it's Hildebrandt. But in the plea agreement that came out today, some of the things that she admitted to doing very similar to what Ruby Franke also admitted to doing.
All right, Paul, thank you very much. Now, in the signed plea agreement that was released by the court, Hildebrandt described some specific abuse done to the children And this was a little bit different than what we heard in Ruby Franke's testimony. You've been looking at these documents. Kind of disturbing information in there.
It's certainly disturbing information. You mentioned that there's some differences. One thing that's interesting is that the differences that exist are important, but there's not a lot of differences. I'm holding here Ruby Franke's document, her plea agreement, and this is Jodi Hildebrandt's. If it's tough to keep them apart, it's because they are almost identical. Other than the name being different, almost everything is essentially copy-pasted from one side to the other. Now, we mentioned some of the disturbing details. A lot of what happened is exactly word for word the same of what's described to the children. You can see here, though, one difference. Jodi Hildebrandt says she physically forced or coerced the 9-year-old girl to jump into a cactus multiple times. That is certainly disturbing, and that is one difference, that she said she specifically caused that kind of abuse. Much of the rest was the same between the two, that they talked about forcing the children to stand outside in the direct sunlight for days at a time until the sunburn was so bad the skin sloughed off of them, which is horrifying to hear. And also just the mental and emotional toll it took on the kids, that they, as it says in these documents, indoctrinated the children so that they believed that they were evil and possessed, and believed that what was happening to them was deserved.
And they also talked a little bit about the way they were restrained, and some of the injuries from the restraints, and then duct taping the injuries, and then putting the handcuffs back on over top of the duct tape.
Yeah, it's really disturbing. This specifically is one thing that was done to the 11 to 12-year-old boy, the son. He attempted to escape. He tried to get away, he was caught, he was brought back, and after that happened, these were the kinds of steps they took to try to keep him from escaping again. As Mark mentioned, it talks about that they handcuffed his legs and his arms. They tied those two together with his arms and legs behind them, so he was bound, and they were lifted off the floor, his legs and his arms, in an extremely uncomfortable position you can imagine. The handcuffs cut through the skin, damaged the muscle tissue, a deep wound, and as far as what they did about this wound, they gave him, quote, homeopathic remedies that they then covered with duct tape, and then they didn't let him recuperate. The bindings, the handcuffs, were then once again placed directly on top of that duct tape. Difficult to read, difficult for anyone to think about, especially anyone who might have children they care about, or a parent who has children that they love.
So what about sentencing now? I know that Ruby Franke is supposed to be sentenced in February. What about Hildebrandt now?
Both of them will be sentenced in February. I believe February 20th is the date that they will be sentenced.
Both of them together?
Both of them. It's the same date. We don't know if it's going to be at the exact same time. It very well may be, as we know that they were originally charged as co-defendants in this case. We don't know how much it will be. 1 to 15 years is the recommended sentencing for each of these cases. There are 4 for each one. And again, we know that these are going to be served consecutive sentences, not concurrent sentences. And for those who may not be up to date on all the terminology used by the courts, consecutive means that for count 1, they'll serve the time for count 1, then the time for count 2, then the time for count 3. Whereas in many other cases, somebody who's convicted of multiple counts may serve count 2, 3, 4, and 5 at the same time. So this might make it much longer than it would otherwise be.
And there could be some time for time served. They've been in jail. I mean, both of them have been in jail for some time now.
Yeah, so no bail for either one of them. Right. It's been several months they've been in jail, so we can assume that will be part of the time that is allotted to them.
All right, thanks for looking into those documents for us, giving us some insights, and yeah, kind of disturbing information in there for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, on December 18th, Ruby Franke pleaded guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. She admitted to physically torturing her children, and as part of the plea deal, she agreed to testify against Hildebrandt. Her sentencing, as Jake just said, scheduled for February 20th. They could both be sentenced on the 20th. You can head over to KUTV.com if you'd like to read a little bit more about the plea deal in each of these separate cases. And if you'd like to see Hildebrandt's full court hearing today, it wasn't very long, only about 6 minutes. We posted the entire unedited video on KUTV's YouTube page. You can also find past videos like interviews with family members on the 8 Passengers playlist. Again, just look for the 8 Passengers playlist. All right, people living in parts of South Dakota and Colorado waking up to blizzard-like conditions. More than a foot of blowing snow today. A winter storm bringing heavy snow, freezing rain, strong winds all across the plains and upper Midwest. Wind gusts reaching 60 miles per hour in some places. We did not see any of that here, Sterling. Thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness. And the other good thing about, even though that blizzard is going on, the temperatures are actually going to start warming up very quickly. So it's not going to be the beginning of a long cold spell for the northern plains. So even Fargo right now is above freezing, 34 in Minneapolis. Omaha's at 32 degrees. But that storm system is headed east into the northeastern part of the country where it'll bring more rain and snow. And here in Utah, well, we're seeing pretty quiet weather. Let's check things out for you and let you know what the forecast is like. It does look like we're going to see a continuation of those temperatures being above normal. Right now it is 36 degrees in Salt Lake City, 28 in Manti. So the overnight low temperatures, these are actually where we should be for highs this time of the year. 37 in Milford and Cedar City, 47 in St. George, and Rock Springs is at 22. And we started off with a lot of clouds this morning, but by this afternoon we actually saw those clouds dissipating a little bit. As we put the time lapse into motion, you can watch those clouds actually dissipating and looking pretty cool. As we put that into motion, there's a big clearing that comes. That's really cool to see that. And then as you see the valley haze still hanging out there in the valleys, it kind of thins a little bit, but it's still there. It's going to be there for the next couple of days. So we do have that moderate air quality with mandatory action to all of us do what we can to reduce the amount of pollution that we put into the atmosphere. That's what we're all trying to do here. High clouds tonight, valley haze continues. The inversion is a meteorological event that you can't get rid of the inversion. That doesn't go away unless Mother Nature makes it go away and we get some winds or we get a storm moving in. But the pollution that goes inside that inversion is what we are talking about. Staying dry, though, through Sunday with that valley haze. So here's a cold front, the first one that came in. This looked like a really powerful storm that was sitting out here yesterday. Very powerful. That cold front came in, it pushed some clouds in, pushed some showers in. But as it moves inland toward that high pressure, it weakened considerably. So what we're left with is just a little bit of light precipitation over portions of northeastern Nevada. But it is moving into northwestern Utah, so the Raft River Mountains could see a flurry or two. And lots of rain showers along the west coast and even a few thunderstorms out there off the coast of Oregon. Snow in the Cascades, but the snow levels are still pretty high. So here's future track. You can see those high clouds continuing. That precipitation in Nevada that was headed into Utah just fizzles out. Next precipitation fizzles out. This is 6 p.m. tomorrow. We'll see some sunshine clearing by afternoon, and overnight, Thursday night into Friday, the high clouds return. So more high clouds, more little spots of precipitation, mainly in the higher elevations, and mainly not even much at all. So there's really no major storms headed this way. 20s and teens tonight across the state, not as cold as the last couple of nights, 33 in St. George. And for highs tomorrow, we're going to see those temperatures right there in the 40s. Our normal high in Salt Lake right now is 37 degrees. We're forecasting temperatures in the low to mid 40s, 40 degrees in Moab. It does look like a change is coming in January, though. This is January 4th through the 10th, where we see increasing chance for cooler than normal temperatures across the southern tier of states. And then as we look at the precipitation above normal across the southern tier of states, but also the west has a higher chance of seeing above normal precipitation in January. So maybe January will be our snowy month here, below normal here across the Great Lakes. Here's the forecast for the next 7 days. You can see those temperatures right there in the 50s. In St. George, maybe a few showers coming in on New Year's Day and into Tuesday with highs in the 50s, overnight lows in the 30s. For Salt Lake City, we've got those temperatures right there in the 40s for the next 6 days. Like I said, our normal high is 37. We're getting into the coldest time of the year, and here we are with those 40s for a whole stretch there. Maybe some light rain and snow showers Monday night into Tuesday. So, yeah.
No reason to panic yet about snow.
No, we are a little bit behind for the month of December and for the season. We're about 76% with our snowpack right now, so we could use a couple of good storms.
And we'll take them.
We will. Bring them on.
Sterling, thank you very much. Hey, remember, download our 2 News weather app. To know about changes in your neighborhood, you can get updated forecasts, live radar right on your phone. The app is free to download, doesn't cost you anything. And a reminder for you, don't forget to join Brian here every day for 2 News Live. You can find it on the YouTube channel, the mobile app, the KUTV mobile app, Stir app, and like I said, on YouTube. They're all free to download in the Apple App Store or Google Play for you. And I'm just filling in for Brian today. Hope I did a good enough job for him.
Yeah, you did great, Mark. And I'm excited for the weekend and all the New Year's activities that are going to happen downtown Salt Lake City.
And the weather's going to be good for it.
Weather is actually going to be really good for it. So it's we're not looking at a major fog event or anything like that. So good news.
Another year. Can you believe it?
Yeah, 2024.
I know.
Isn't there a song that says, in the year
25?
25.
Yes.
Yeah, 25.
I think it was
We're not quite there yet, but
it was a song from the 70s. I think it was Zager and Evans. They were predicting the future. They were pretty much spot on, to be honest with you.
That's right.
All right, thanks for watching 2 News Live, everybody.